Hello and welcome back to Fire Emblem The Last Promise 0% growths low turn count playthrough. In this video we'll be tackling chapters 2 and 3. Chapter 2 grants us a new unit, Tamiko. She's a cleric who all she does in this map is visit one village. She gets us a javelin, which will be somewhat helpful. We don't get a lot of those. This video also contains the first emblem weapon, which, as you might remember, is one of the side quests we're going for. We need to have Corbin visit the house that's in the lower left-hand corner of the screen in order to obtain it. It's fairly simple. It's the only house we'll be visiting in this playthrough. Funnily enough, that house also contains the sole rescue staff you can get in The Last Promise, at least in the main game, if you visit it with Tamiko. Too bad she joins with E-rank staves. Yeah, she can't even use Manget base. All she'll be doing is a couple of heals in Siegfried mode, notably the next chapter, and a couple in chapter 4. And some in Chapter 5X, and then being deployed once in Anakin mode in order to recruit a specific character. And yes, you heard me right, I said Siegfried mode and Anakin mode. Siegfried is the main lord of Siegfried mode, as I'm sure you surmised, and Sean is also a game over condition. However, Anakin is a character we'll meet later. He's the main character of, well, the Anakin mode, which consists of Chapter 11 to the endgame, while Siegfried mode has two guidons, after Chapter 5 and Chapter 7, and consists of prologue through Chapter 10. We will be attending each guidon chapter, both in Anakin mode and in Siegfried mode, and Anakin mode will make up the bulk of the problem-solving skills that will be demonstrated. Sean's piercing sword, as I mentioned, has good stats. It's a rapier, and is 3x effective. It's effective against the Armored Brigand class that the boss is, which is fairly important. This boss is an Armored Brigand. He uses axes, he counts as armored. We won't be seeing a lot of those. They're only ever used on bosses. They're just a way to get an armored class for Sean to be able to use his weapon triangle advantage against. The piercing sword also has an innate 10 crit, which I should have pointed out, but I didn't, which is why Sean was able to pull 13 crit on that mercenary in one shot. That mercenary had 0 luck. There are a few times where Sean will be using weapons that are not Piercing Sword or Iron Sword. He'll use a Lance Reaver, I think once, in the Killing Edge in this mode, for a part of his side quest. But he'll mainly be using, until Chapter 22, the Piercing Sword, because it's one of the best weapons he has access to. He will, however, be able to use Silver Swords and whatnot eventually, although he gets weapon that far outclasses even those. He uses a Slim Lance at one point to hit level 10 in Chapter 18. Although I could have been much more lenient considering he gets a few boss kills. You might be wondering why I'm talking so much about Sean. That's because there's not much else to talk about on this map in particular, and really in the next map. The interesting thing to talk about is the units that will matter moving forward. Siegfried has no reason to be trained, not even his weapon rank. And Corbin is not going to reach any notable weapon rank or level thresholds. He's not going to reach level 10 for promotion. We don't care. What is fun to talk about is the NPC, Kelik. If you know anything about this game, you'll know that he is one of the main lords and one of the more powerful combat units in a casual playthrough. I'm not going to be talking about him yet, but you can see that he's capable of one-running literally every enemy on this map except the boss. I wish we could take his steel sword from him though. That'd be a good weapon just to give to Siegfried for general use. Or it would be, until the end of this chapter anyway. The emblem weapons are pretty cool. They're weak weapons, they have lower might than iron weapons even, however they are effective just 2x against every enemy in the game. So what that means is they're infinite use stronger iron weapons, usually by 1 or 2 might. We only get the emblem blade and emblem bow for emblem weapons that matter, and even then we only use them a few times in this game mode. We never end up using the emblem axe or emblem bow. We get them simply too late, and our stats are simply not good enough to be using them. Sean has a somewhat precarious enemy phase, and he has a somewhat precarious boss kill. He needs to dodge the boss's hit in order to not die since he gets hit by the archer. So, what that means is that we need to do somewhat soften up the boss. However, we were not able to soften up the boss that Sean could one-shot him, so we just need to rely on him dodging a 45, which is, I think, close to like a 37 with true hit. That clears up Chapter 2, in 5 turns, which you might notice is a bit of a drag. I was hoping to get Corbin to Steel Sword rank or Iron Blade rank, but we never end up seeing that happen. Siegfried obtains his personal weapon, the New Thong. I'll talk about that in Chapter 3. In Chapter 3, we get 2 new units that actually do matter. A little bit, at least. We gain access to Inanna, the only pair of wings we gain in Siegfried mode, and she is pretty helpful. We also gain access to Shuuda. Shuuda is a character that we actually invest a decent amount into. I forget his starting sword rank, but we want it to be at least C so we can use the killing edge that comes in Chapter 5X. The way that we play this map, we miss out on a couple of things. Namely, we miss out on getting Sean some weapon experience, because we're giving most of it to Shuuda, however Shuuda is actually bulky enough to choke that point. And we miss out on the Elysian Whip, which we wouldn't be able to use to promote Inanna anyway, and we can't access any stores worth a damn, so what's the point? This chapter is another Siege map, and we only really have Siegfried to do it. The boss has a javelin and a steel sword, so we need to keep Inanna out of his 2 range. Inanna is just, as I said, mainly a pair of wings, although her base strength is actually okay. She'll kill a couple of enemies, but not a lot of them. Shuuda has really good base stats in comparison, though. He has 9 base strength, 12 skills and speed, 22 HP, and a decent bit of bulk. We actually will end up using him and promoting him in Anakin mode for a single chapter where he could be replaced by a different unit. But hey, I felt that there would be a reason to do it, even though money from selling that hero crest could have been nice. Inanna will die if she's hit another time by that soldier, so we just need to kill him. Siegfried doesn't attack the boss because he has a chance of death. And he couldn't kill the boss and Flier and enemy troops that are crit anyway, and this was before I decided to make it an LTC. You'll be hearing me say that a lot. That only happened around Chapter 7. Tamiko gets a few heals in, not for her experience, but just so that Shuuda doesn't die. However, she doesn't really get targeted. Or he doesn't, rather. We need to weaken the boss first in order to be able to kill him, but we can only really safely do that on enemy phase. However, Siegfried only deals 8 damage. That's where Inanna comes in. With 1 RN burned, she's capable of hitting Gerard with a javelin, meaning that Siegfried is capable of finishing him off. Gerard uses a steel sword because it hits harder than his javelin. In theory, we could have fed this Cavalier kill to Sean next turn, but I decided it wasn't necessary. You'll see Tamiko act as bait a couple of times. I just find it kinda funny. Shuuda kills this Cavalier just to get his level, as well as experience and sword rank up. Shuuda, as I'm sure you can imagine being a mercenary, promotes to hero. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time for Chapters 4 and Chapter 5.